Hey guys, what's going on? In the latest edition of Democrats and Black people acting like they have zero personal accountability for any of their actions whatsoever, we're going to go through a couple of news stories. They're very interesting. This first one happened earlier in October, and I saw it, and I thought about making a video about it, but other things came up, so I didn't get to it. I wasn't going to talk about it originally because, there's so many interesting news stories you have to select which ones you talk about, especially since I only make like one video a week on average. So I don't get to talk about whatever I want. But this exact same thing happened in Philadelphia just a couple days ago. So I'm like, wow, there seems to be a string of these incidents happening. So let's go into it. Not only did this happen in early October, but I actually had to look around because it also happened in May in the exact same state. I think they were both Baltimore. One was in Maryland, one was in Baltimore. So it's like that's three times off the top of my head that I know of black people with knives charging police officers. They get shot and killed, and then black people cry that police brutality and white supremacy and racism and whatever. So let's go into these stories, shall we? This was from October 8th, 2020. A police officer shot a man armed with knife and blades in Rosdale Thursday afternoon. Officers responded to Rosdale just after 2:20 p.m. after a witness called 911 for an unknown suspect with a knife and blades cutting down branches on a tree, waving the blades around and throwing them in the roadway. When they en route to the scene, they learned the suspect was in the middle of the road swinging a large chain. That is objectively dangerous behavior, okay? Someone has to do something about that. You can't just ignore that. Someone's going to get hurt eventually. So people are crying that the police were called to this situation. What fucking other thing do you expect to happen? Who else should respond? Private citizens with guns? I mean, I guess you can make the case for armed security, but like someone in position of authority or with a weapon has to do something about this. They're like, oh, send in a social worker. I'm like, you want to send in an unarmed social worker who may have zero physical strength and zero way of defending themselves to a crazy person with blades and chains. That is a recipe for disaster. You are sending that person to their doom. Come on, you cannot be that naive that you think that a social worker can just show up and defuse a situation through talking. That can happen sometimes, but it can't happen every single time. So what happens when it doesn't happen every single time? They die unless they can get away. These people infuriate me that they do objectively dangerous and reckless things. Someone is called to deal with it, and then they attack the person who responds to it, and then oh, it's their fault. It's police brutality's fault. It's white people's fault. It's Trump's fault. This is Trump's America. Whatever. And this keeps happening. Like I said, this is the third time I've happened to notice that this has happened. Black people with knives charging at police officers and they get shot. Sorry, I got distracted from the story. According to police, one officer got out of his vehicle and ordered the suspect to sit down. The suspect ignored commands and began running towards the officer, who ordered the suspect to stop. The officer began to move backward, but the suspect continued to advance on him, at which time the officer fired his weapon, striking the suspect in the upper body. Oh, this guy didn't die. Oh, I thought he did die. Okay, this is the one that out of the three who didn't die. He was shot. He ran away. They caught him and they took him to the hospital. So again, we have demonstrable evidence that the officer did not shoot him the very first thing. He did not go for lethal force right off the bat. Like I just read, he gave him commands to stop. The suspect ignored it. Police officer began to move backwards, even when the suspect was advancing, and then only when he had no other choice did he shoot him. Again, what else do you expect the police officers to do? I would like anyone to give a half coherent answer that's not completely retarded, like send in a social worker. Or the other one I heard was, why didn't they use your taser? These people obviously have never been in a tactical situation in their fucking lives. Because I think they think like it's a TV show where like the police just swoop in and they take care of everything and everyone lives, everyone's happy, it's a happy ending of the show, whatever. Like I think that's how they think real life is. Because all I do is sit on their fat ass and watch TV all day. They don't actually know what real life is. Like I don't know. If you come up with a better explanation, I would like to hear it. But tasers, first of all, you have to be in relatively close to use it. I don't know the exact range. I need to look it up, but it's not super far. It's like a couple of yards. It's like 10, 20 feet. Um, it's within the distance that you can lightly toss a baseball. It's not that much of a distance. Person running full force can close that distance incredibly fast. Okay, can't believe I have to explain this, but like, oh, he was 20 feet away and he shot him. Okay, 20 feet is very close. That is a very short, even 20 yards is a very short shot with a gun. Like, I don't understand. You can close that distance in seconds. Seconds. So not only do you have to be relatively close to use it, they fail half the time. Just look up compilations of tasers not working on people. They seem to work less often than when they do work. I would never want to use one. I've seen countless times, dozens and dozens, if not upwards of 100 times, 100, 200 times over the course of my lifetime, of someone shooting someone with a taser, and they don't even flinch. They act like nothing happened, and they continue doing whatever they were doing. Like, they don't work. They should never issue tasers ever again, because they don't fucking work. I don't understand why the technology hasn't fixed them by now, but it's not my chair, not my problem. I'm not in charge of that department. So those are the only two answers I can get from any deranged libtard about this. So those are the two things: use a taser or send in a social worker. Both of those are horrible ideas. So if your mental health is that bad that you are inconsolable and you just see someone talking to you to stop doing whatever you're doing that's objectively dangerous, and you just charge them with a knife, I'm sorry, you forfeit your right to live. Okay, you are too far gone by that point. It's what a coincidence that they use the excuse mental health. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't look into. I couldn't find anything about whether he was actually had a legit mental health condition or whether he was taking medication or receiving treatment or anything like that. But once you get to that point, it's just like, what else do you expect the police to do? What do you expect anyone to do? Let's say a social worker showed up. What do you expect him to do if you can't talk him out of it? He doesn't have a gun to defend himself. Okay, social worker, you want the social worker to have a gun? Okay, then what? It's the same end result. Like, it just doesn't matter. If you're that insane, your mental health is that bad, then I'm sorry. Like, it's all right. So that was so that was October 8th. So that was 21 days ago, and this Philadelphia thing happened when 2 days ago. 2 days ago. 3 days by the time I probably upload this. I don't know. I don't know when I just upload when I get to upload. Black man shot dead by police in Philadelphia, sparking heated protests. So I couldn't find any results of violent protests as a result of that one we just talked about in Baltimore. There were protests and people were crying and whinging out like little retards. But to my extent, and to their credit, they did not attack officers or burn anything down. The argument is retarded, but at least they were peaceful. This, however, did not. They were not peaceful. I've watched the video of this tragic incident. It presents difficult questions that must be answered. Philadelphia Mayor, complete fucking retard, Jim Kenney said. What difficult questions? Your officers did what you trained them to do. I guess the difficult question is, why are so many insane people have such disregard for their own self-preservation that they ignore, they have like 20 different times that they can stop what they're doing and get out of a situation unharmed, and they choose not to? Why do we have so many people who feel they can do whatever they want to police officers, and then when they get shot back, they cry, act like the victim? That's the difficult question we need to answer. Why do we have so many people in this country, they feel they can do whatever the fuck they want and no personal responsibility whatsoever, and just blame it on something else like white supremacy or police brutality or mental health or whatever? Police in Philadelphia shot and killed a black man on Monday, triggering protests that saw at least 30 officers injured. So that's huge amount of violence. 30 officers, that's a lot. Not just an isolated incident. Police said they shot Walter Wallace Jr., 27, after responding to a call about a man armed with a knife. Oh wow, this story, it's gonna play out exactly how you fucking think. It's the same thing every single fucking time. The responding officers ordered Wallace several times to drop the knife. It continued to advance towards them. Then they fired the weapons multiple times. What a surprise. They told him several times to stop, and he didn't, and he kept on going towards them when they told him to stop coming towards them. What a surprise. What mental condition do you have to have such no concept of self-preservation? Is that a mental health thing? Is that a disease? Is that an illness? I'd never heard of it before. It sounds like you're just a fucking retard who doesn't want to be held accountable to your actions. Now, if there's a mental health professional or anyone who knows otherwise, you feel free to leave a comment. We can talk about it. Like, it's not like schizophrenia. Schizophrenia does not have this you're doing everything else fine, but you just don't pay attention to authority. It's not really a schizophrenic thing that I know of. It could be wrong. It could be completely wrong. I've only taken a couple of psychological courses, psychology courses in college, so it's not my specialty. but these people are like seemingly normal in every other regard, and then only when it comes to police orders, suddenly do they just have no concept of self-preservation and just go down a road of multiple ways how they could stop, but they don't, and then they end up shot, and in this case dead. Hurley said in a statement that Wallace was at least 20 feet away when they shot. 20 feet is fucking nothing. Take a fucking tape measure and measure out 20 feet. It is nothing. It is so maniacally close. You can close that distance in 2 seconds. And when you lunge with a knife to add to that distance, you can stab someone in like 2 seconds from running. Like, I don't think people understand anything for that matter, but that's a side note. Understand how close 20 feet is. 20 yards is close. Wallace's father said, "Why didn't they use a taser? Because they don't work, idiot. We've already been through this. Like, it's the same thing. It's like they are robots and they can't help but just wig out and attack police officers for no reason. And then even though the police officers do everything right, they still blame them. Like, they just act like robots. It's the same conversation every sinsingle time. Why'd you shoot him? Because he was breaking the law or doing something dangerous? Why didn't you use taser? Tasers don't work. Well, why didn't you try to take a knife out of his hand? Do you have you ever tried to disarm someone holding a knife? Incredibly dangerous, incredibly difficult. Oh, they need better training. Even the best person trained in the world is going to fail eventually while doing that. There's never a 100% chance that that's going to work. You know what's 100% chance of living? Shooting someone when they're not right in front of you. Yeah, that's why they do that. So Monday evening, protests gathered and they looted stores because that's logical. That fights white supremacy. That fights the system by just looting stores. Did the stores hire police officers? And the police officers employees of, I think there's a Chick-fil-A burned down and Walmart. Okay, so person A attacks person B. Person B gets mad and just sucker punches person C for no fucking reason. Okay, well, that's social justice in 2020? Yeah. That's been going on for many years. That's not a 2020 thing. That's been going on. Like, I don't know if you want to say the LA riots was the start of the first thing I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure it happened before that. Some officers were injured after rocks and bricks were thrown at them. A pickup truck ran into an officer who broke his leg. This is all okay. Democrats are never going to condemn this. Democrats are never going to say anything about it. Biden's never going to condemn it. And everyone acts like the officers just deserve to die or something. They're not allowed to defend themselves. When are we going to start holding people accountable for their actions? When you are doing something objectively dangerous or breaking the law. Now, I'm not talking about breaking the law like collecting rainwater when you're not supposed to, or I don't know, fucking building a fence when you don't have a permit. Like, I'm not talking about that stuff. That stuff shouldn't be against the law. And that's a conversation for another time about all of these laws that we have that are unconstitutional and just are just government red tape designed to annoy the living shit out of people. Like, there's no objective benefit. They just have it because government likes to. It's a source of revenue for them to tax people whenever they define people. See what I did there? Define people whenever they do like asinine things that like don't really matter. That's not what we're talking about. When you're like assaulting someone or robbing someone or throwing knives around or threatening other people or like was it Rayshard Brooks? No. Yeah, Rayshard Brooks is the one who grabbed the taser and then ran away. But the other guy, I forget his name. I don't have it in front of me. The guy who the initial claim was he was in a car. He was just in a car with his kids, and police just came up and shot him. Oh no, actually, he was breaking. He was breaking the law. He was near the woman who he was stalking. He wasn't supposed to be around her. Threatening her, threatening to steal her car. We don't still to this day don't know whose kids were in that car. It might have been his. It might have been hers. And he had a warrant out for his arrest. And then he went to grab a knife in his car. Then he got shot. And then apparently that's just he had like 20 different opportunities during that day to do something to not result in him getting shot, and he chose every single damn fucking one of them. But that's been the Democrats' mantra for quite some time: is there is zero accountability for anything you do in your personal life that results in bad things happening to you. It's always someone else's fault. It's white people's fault. It's the system's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's America's racist past fault or something. Some boogeyman that's intangible, that doesn't exist. There's no proof that any of the stuff exists. I mean, I know Trump exists. I know police exist, but you know what I mean. And then that justifies, one, them not changing their behavior. It's like the classic, oh, it's not my fault I'm fat. It's just my genes. So it's zero reason for them to like stop eating like crap and not work and to not work out. There's no reason for them to stop their behavior because they just blame it. Oh, it's not my fault; it's their fault. So they keep on doing what they're doing, and that justifies despicable actions towards like police officers or white people or stores or whatever because it's like they're the one doing this to us. So we're justified doing all of this heinous, violent acts against these individuals. And this is the country we live in. We have millions and millions of people who have zero accountability for any of their actions and are incredibly violent. And I thought I'd just tie those two stories together because in the same month, almost the exact same thing happened. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of people acting like retards and police doing everything that they're supposed to do, and still people get mad and think we live like in a police. There's police brutality and the racist. We live in a white supremacy apartheid state. Like, I'm so sick of it. So I'm just calling it out.